Welcome to the Locals Only Lounge. I'm your host tonight, Andrew Dyer. Um, we are joined by a roundtable of illustrious leaders from the Locals supporter group. I'm going to start with producer John Cross. John, can you come on in and just tell everybody what your position in leadership is?
I am a member of Congress.
So, being a member of Congress, do you get out to the theater very often? And when you're in the theater, what do you get up to?
I watch the musical that's in front of me.
Good man, good man. Let's also bring on Sean Duffy. Hello, sir. Good
Hey
evening.
guys, good evening. Good
So
evening.
tell us what your position in leadership is. What's your job?
I am the director of philanthropy and have been for the past 2 years.
Now, do you sit on the boards of any theater or thespian organization?
I was a minor in drama, so I actually have some connection to the theater. I acted for 6 years, a little bit longer than that.
So, did anybody ever take flash photography in the midst of a performance, a live performance? Have you ever seen that happen?
I have seen that happen several times, in fact, and it was always my mom, to be honest.
You did not tell her the decorum, the rules. There are rules in the theater.
Yeah, well, try telling my mom to follow the rules. It doesn't work, man.
Okay, and the last person by request, last but not least, Jason Radcliffe. Jason, what's up, man?
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
Tell everybody what your job in leadership is.
I am the director of communications and marketing.
Okay, so communications. We're here to communicate with the members of the locals. Last week it came up on the show. Just kind of,
Yeah.
John and I, we kind of got to the end of the show. We had a lot of time left. Just kind of started talking about what I'd heard from people at the watch party. And it seemed like even like people that aren't totally involved with locals, like everybody wants to talk about what's going to happen, once Loyal goes away, and what happens to this whole organization, this community that has been built over the last 4 years. And I mean, this is the thing that's been weighing on everybody's mind since the announcement, and it's a thing that people are already talking about, and it's all people seem to want to talk about, at least until the results on the field improve. So
Yeah, we're
yeah,
not getting any help there.
so we're here in the lounge to talk a little bit about this. So I guess I'm going to throw it up to anybody because all three of you are in the leadership meetings. What's going on? What's the plan? What's next?
What's the leadership up to? John, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'll start with this. We know that a lot of people have been talking within membership, just throwing out ideas or where they might like to see where the locals might pivot to, if at all. What happens to the locals once the season is over? As leadership, the general, you know, thought that we've been following is let's put all our energy into this team while we have our team and make that decision in the off season. But part of the conversation recently is finally, I think, after going through maybe our grieving steps, some of us have talked about this, that going through these different grieving steps, people are able to look at the calendar a little more now that things have settled down and people have accepted where that the oil no longer are going to exist after the season, and really taking a hard look at the calendar that, okay, if we're going to make these decisions in the off season, what is that going to look like? What is the plan for actually getting eventually to a vote by the membership to see where we want to go? And in looking at that, there's two time constraints that are affecting how we handle this discussion. One is we have elections coming up. Per our bylaws, our leadership, our elected officials, they run on 2-year terms, and those terms are coming up here at the end of January. So we have to have elections. So if you kind of work backwards from there, we have elections, and we, I think, have pretty much agreed all around that we should probably decide as a group where we want to pivot to before we have those elections, because otherwise you have people maybe running for an elected office thinking the group is going to be one thing, and then the group decides it wants to be something else. So we have elections on the back end, and then the decision before that. But on the front end, we want to push those conversations to the postseason, but we don't know when the Royal will finish their season. They could crash and burn here at the end and be done mid-October, or they can make it all the way to the USL Championship match. And that's basically a 5-week difference in time for the discussion. So as we were looking at timelines and wanting to survey the membership as part of that before we even get to a vote, the idea was to try to get our first initial survey out now so we can get some results, get prepped, use that information to help get the second survey ready, and then be ready to go with the rest of this timeline when we're ready to pull the trigger based on when the season ends or possibly some other things come up. So just in looking at the entire timeline and how we want to conduct this transition plan, this is the first step, this survey that we're going to talk about tonight, and get us hopefully along that path and be ready to pull the trigger to have these discussions when the season is officially over.
So, Jason, you handle communications for the locals. Can you talk a little bit about what's going to be on this survey, and when can people expect to see it?
Yeah, I expect us to have something out in the morning, and this first survey is just kind of general. So it's going to be a little bit more what it means to you to be a local, and and what you feel as part of our group, and what's important to you moving forward. We kind of want to get a gauge of that first, and this will be probably a 2 or 3 step process before we're just straight up voting. So don't, if you're hearing this tomorrow morning, don't worry, there's not a vote happening that you're going to miss the vote on. But we do want to know what people are feeling, and just kind of gauge the temperature here first. So that's really what you're going to see tomorrow. We are going to put it behind our membership paywall, so it will be locals only. Try to weed out anyone who's not actually local, telling us what they think we should do, what they think it means for us to be who we are. And we want to hear from people. Like we've got a membership really of we've got a membership now of about 340, I would say, paying and free memberships. So there's 340 people we'd love to hear from, and that's who's going to make the decision. So it is going to be ultimately, those who have the power technically to change the bylaws are going to be the ones who technically change the bylaws. But we're not doing it just from ourselves, and we're moving towards a vote and what that looks like. So tomorrow is just going to be very general, but we want to hear from you guys.
So what are the kind of what are the options? So I think the obvious ones are: does locals become? Are we talking about becoming a supporter group of San Diego Wave, of the upcoming MLS team? Not supporting either one? Do we just become the largest soccer's supporter group? I mean, that's all possibilities, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is that spectrum. So I'll let maybe Duffy talk a little bit more about it. But we're leaving that up to you guys, and we don't know. We talk to the same 12 people all the time. We all have differing opinions. Maybe everybody wants something somewhere on that spectrum. So
I'd say the only thing to add to that in regards to what are we going to be going forward do we just become like a social club? That's totally in the cards. If we decide as a group that we don't want to cheer on any particular team, we might just become the locals, a general soccer loving group. We can meet up every now and then as wanted, play some games, drink some beer, maybe go watch a soccer game, but not necessarily be a supporters group. Like anything is possible at this point. And there's going to be some very strong feelings across the gambit. The only thing that I would say that I have very strong feelings about that I'm more than happy to talk about out here is I don't want to be tourists. So I'm not interested in us being like a year at the Wave or a year somewhere, like do 1 year in the Soccers, 1 year for the Wave. Someone has actually thrown that out, and I just want to make it very clear that I think that's very silly. But anything else is up. It's up to us. The locals, it's a group of us. It's us, the locals, not just leadership, not just the four of us here. But it's all of us together. And we'll figure out what that path looks like together. And it's really important that we do it together. And no matter what we do, some people in the locals are not going to be thrilled with that. There's just too many options. There's too many possibilities. That's A-okay. I want to make it very clear that if something happens and maybe it's not what you wanted the locals to do or to be, you are still welcome to be a part of us. You're still welcome to be our friends, regardless. But we hope that everyone joins us in whatever the next step is.
So, Jason, you mentioned the bylaws, and I'll admit it's been a little while since I dusted off the old bylaws and constitution and perused its many clauses and articles. Um, Now, right now, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the locals is structured as strictly a San Diego loyal supporter group. Is that kind of what we're talking about? So there would need to be some kind of restructuring of that in order to pivot to another club potentially. Um, I think I wanted to kind of get into what goes on behind the scenes. Like most people just see what happens in 109, the watch parties, whatever, and think that's what it's all about. But there's actually the locals is incorporated as a nonprofit. There is an entire financial and kind of paperwork structure and infrastructure behind the supporter group that is kind of complex, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I think that you may remember when this was being set up here, kind of seeing Jerry be the lead on that, coming from, I think 3252, he had some experience of how you set these things up and things like that. So it's something that, yeah, if you're going to have this nonprofit status and you're going to be this group that we are, you kind of have to have a vision. You have to have it in your bylaws of what you are and what you're doing, and the answer to that. So that's by nature going to have to change this off season because we can't go on being in a corporation or a corporation that is a supporters group of the San Diego Loyal Soccer Club, which will theoretically no longer exist after November. So that's what our next thing is, and what the language will probably will need to be decided there as we move forward. So again, the San Diego, the locals are a supporters group for all of San Diego soccer, or the locals are a social group that supports soccer and San Diego sports and game nights. Like, we're gonna actually have to put into essentially law, right, by law, what we are and what we're doing. So the reason we want to do that first before elections, kind of getting into the nitty gritty of it, is we want people to be able to run for office in the locals knowing what it's going to be. So we don't want to have elections in October and then be like, okay, now the new people decide what we're going to be and what we're going to do. Because we don't want, some never MLSers jumping in with some always MLSers and some wave only people and some soccer's only people, like we don't sort of want that. So we kind of want the direction decided by the group first.
So the battle lines have been drawn, is what you're saying.
Right.
There are factions.
Exactly. There's factions
within factions of our faction, lobbying and politicking for these various forks in the road.
Right.
It sounds like is this going to be a nasty knockdown drag out? Like, is this going to be, political, like, people releasing, videos from inside dark theaters level of like political intrigue, or is everybody? I'm just trying to get a pulse here. Like, there's nobody that wants this to go away, right? Like, locals isn't ending,
This
right?
is not an LA Galaxy versus Orange County SC situation, right? We're not at the point of like, trying to decide, are we going to survive, and we've got other people on the other side within our same group, trying to kill us and stake us through the heart or whatever it is. We're going to be, we all want this to keep going, I think, in some form or another. We all, from my experience, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I enjoy hanging out with you all. I enjoy what we're doing. I'd like to continue to do that aspect. I think we're all in agreement on that. Unfortunately, the thing that we're all centered around, the loyal, is gone. So we have to find a new nexus, a new something. And whatever that is, I hope most people follow along with it. And maybe, let's say we go to the wave, we could pick up some more people as well who are maybe only interested in the wave and now want a different type of supporter group. There is nothing like the locals at the wave. The Sirens are awesome. They do some really cool stuff, but they are just a very different type of group than us. So there's the possibility not only for us all to stick together, but also for growth. Soccer's, although I think they're moving to Oceanside, not next year, but the following year or something like that. So things could definitely be a little odd with that. Although I'll be happy because I'm up here in Carlsbad. But we all want it to continue, I think, in one way or another. And there's, as far as our conversations, like, it's not really acrimonious. We're definitely having discussions about all this stuff, but it comes down to the group. What does the group want to do?
And that's really the purpose of the surveys and the planned, at least at this point, 3 surveys. The first one that comes out tomorrow is going to be entirely open-ended questions that really focus on the locals, not on anything else. Like, what does it mean to be a member of the locals? Like, what is it that connects us together? We want to avoid exactly what you were talking about before, Andrew, of like, we don't want this to be a big drawn out battle where people are picking their dividing lines right now. We want to try to use these surveys to get to the heart and the core of what it means to be a local, and use the results of this first survey to help shape and generate the second survey, and then those results to generate that last survey. So hopefully we can hear from as many people as possible, post those results, and let all of us get out of maybe our little bubble of friends that we talk about within the locals and get the voices of as many people as possible to see really what makes it special to be a part of the locals, and then use that information to figure out what's the best way to pivot forward. If, once we identify the key things that we think are special about the locals, hopefully that will help make the final decision a little easier of what the locals should pivot to, if anything. Because as we said before, everything's on the table, from dissolving the locals to being a social club to supporting another team. I mean, it's all there right now. But if we can figure out what, for each of us, and then collectively as a group, what makes it special about being a member of the locals, hopefully that will help us eventually make a bigger group-wide decision a little easier than just launching into battlegrounds right now on this is what I want and this is what someone else wants.
So Jason mentioned elections coming up. What positions are vacating? What positions are up for grabs, and what people going into those positions? It sounds like they're going to be leading the group during a period of transition, regardless of what is decided.
Yeah, we don't need and I'll just jump in real quick, Jason, before you grab it. We're not looking for like wartime generals. For next year, we're not looking for people who are going to get in the trenches of 109, because that doesn't exist. Or I just don't know if it's necessary. But people who are willing to step up and lead and pick up pieces during a transition year. No matter what we do, there is going to be a transition year next year. So if you're interested, once we've decided as a group what we're going to do, just be aware that you got your work cut out for you, and probably more work than just a standard year for us because of how many things are changing. And it is not easy. I have the easiest job by far, by the way, in all of leadership. Philanthropy, I find something fun every now and then. We push for it. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Usually it's just, hey, wow, Shalvos are doing something awesome. Let's amplify that. Loyal's doing something awesome. But John, Jason, Steve, Nick, all these people are doing so many things week in and week out, and it's actually fucking insane how much work they do. And I want to really make that clear. So next year is going to be very different, probably, but there's a lot of work involved in many of these big positions. All right, Jason, now you can talk.
I don't think you're selling it to anybody.
I just want to be clear. Like, this is not... if you are going to be part of this, if you want to be part of leadership,
be miserable. You're going to hate it.
It is not like just happy go drink time. It's a lot of work to make sure other people, at least this year and previous years, can be in happy go drink time in 109. But it's fun. I mean, you guys speak to it a little bit more than me, but from my perspective, when we've been able to pull off philanthropic events, when we've been able to do things to amplify other voices, it's been really, really rewarding. I'm sure it's similar for the two of you.
Yeah, and while he's downplaying his own involvement, I do want to point out Duffy being at that last humble. Sorry, help me with the second word.
Humble design.
Humble design day where we brought a family in out of homelessness and gave them a home. So, we all work in different ways, and I just wanted to mention that's a big thing to be looking at. As far as how much work it is, I guess now is as good a time as any to tell people that no matter what happens or what decision people make, I will be stepping down from leadership. I do not have the time and energy. I was in love with Loyal, and that's why I did this. And while I love you all and I love the locals, whatever direction that we end up going will not be with Loyal and what we had, which is what I could bank on when I was borrowing husband points and time for my children. So, this is my exit. This is my stop. If I don't want anyone to think that I have any sort of animosity towards MLS or Wave or any of the options that are out there. Just personally, this is my stop. But that being said, it is a decent amount of work, and we're going to need people to answer your actual question, Andrew. All of the positions are up for re-election. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't have them staggered at all. So president, vice president, comms and marketing, philanthropy, everything I'm missing, membership, art, literally everything is open. So that does allow people who, once it's hard to talk to without knowing what direction we're going in, right? But that's why it's important for you to voice your opinion. If you think you want to see something and want to see it done, we're in the lounge, and so I think I don't know who else here and whatnot, but like, if we were to do like an umbrella organization where we were the locals, but we decided that we were going to do somewhat like what we've seen Chavos kind of looking at. If we were going to do a bigger umbrella organization, and we have people at every Wave game, and we have people at every Sockers game, and we have people at every MLS game, like, that's a lot. And someone's going to have to, if that's the route that is decided, that's people are going to have to be involved. Like, speaking openly and freely, sometimes you do feel like you're in the trenches and look around and don't necessarily see, everybody wants to do the drinking and the partying in 109, but don't necessarily want to do the planning of that and the monthly meetings.
Some people just want to do podcasts.
Some people just want to do podcasts. And I do want to go out of my way too, to talk about you, because while you're not on leadership, you're giving as much energy and effort as anyone else in this group, because you're not just doing the pod, you're in 109 every single moment that you can be. You pack in your own gear, you pack it out. Like, for people who don't know that, those drums don't set themselves up, they don't take themselves out. they don't fight security over countywide uh, alerts.
It wasn't a
So
fight. I might have made I
um,
might have been a little bit of a smart ass.
so like while you're out there and you're leaving early right after the game, he's packing all his shit out and having security on his ass for no good reason. So like, all of us who put stuff in, looking ahead to whatever it is, um, there are going to need to be people who commit to it. And so hopefully, if whatever your thing is wins, you commit to that. Like, we'll see, John. I don't know if we're even going to be able to get to what we thought. Maybe there was some redistribution of um, directorships. We kind of talked previously about, like, you and I and leadership about, like, maybe we restructure a little bit and have things look a little differently. So that may be on the table as well, where we look and we say, marketing and communication should be two different things, or they should be under the vice president should be in charge of the non-game day stuff, and this person should be in charge of games day stuff. If we go and try to support everybody, maybe we have a wave liaison and we have a MLS liaison and we have a everyone else liaison, and so like those things are discussions that we have
So
to have.
I'm not on leadership, so sometimes I do take liberties and put my thumb on the scale. Hey, I understand the desire to be all things to everything. I don't see it. I'm just going to say that does sound my understanding of how you know how much it has taken to support one team as an active member of the supporter group, um, financially, time wise, organization. Um, I cannot imagine trying to be a supporter group that does every soccer team in town. I have been to soccer's games and I've sat with brujos and had a lot of fun tailgating, but I don't go to every game, and I didn't even go to a single game last season. I was busy, um, but it sounds ambitious. Um, well, with these surveys and leadership coming up, um, what should people expect timeline wise over from now until the end of the season? Um, this first survey, the next survey, uh, and then I guess ending with the elections. What's the timeline look like for the near future?
I'll I'll tackle that just because one, it hasn't been firmly decided. I think because there's so many things in play, and what we've tried to do is rough out an aggressive timeline and a much less aggressive timeline. So we have windows of opportunity to do the things we need to do depending on how the oil season actually plays out. So this first survey will get up now, have up, I don't know. I don't even know how long we're going to have it. I was thinking initially a week that we'd have it up, but I don't think we actually firmly decided that or not. Once we get the results, we'd like to post those results out for the entire membership to see anonymously, right? So that's just people's comments, not attached to their names. But get those out, and we'll again use that to shape that second survey. And right now, probably looking like we'd want to be ready to drop that second survey when the season ends, right? So that we're ready to go, whether it's we make it all the way to USL Cup or, we're out sometime earlier. That second survey is prepped and ready to go based on this first survey. So then we can just jump right in line and continue those conversations and set a more firm timeline at that point of when everything will happen. But I mean, we could potentially do the elections as early as mid-December before we go to winter break, which means the vote would have to be before that, maybe even before Thanksgiving. That would probably be more if the Loyal are out very early in the playoffs and we have time to have those conversations and discussion. But if they make it all the way to the end, that probably pushes everything back, that we might do the vote right before the winter holidays and then do the elections when we come back in January. So that's a very rough kind of timeline of where we are.
It's tough
but
because in previous seasons, at least for me personally, once the season ends, like no offense to everybody, I enjoy all of you, but I disconnect for like a solid month, and I, I get off Discord. I don't look at it as much. There is and I'm a very active person in the group, so if I disengage, I would imagine that the end of the season would be a time when a lot of members also kind of disengage. So, I think, personal opinion, I'm not the one doing the work, so forgive me, but I feel like, while people are engaged is the time to really hit this stuff hard, because if we go into December, like, I mean, how many people are going to be checking their email in December? How many people are going to show up and vote? I don't know. Not to put more pressure on everybody, but I just want to point that out, that things get people do drop off, and I'm terrible at checking emails. I think I've said that several times on on the pod. So I've got to go. I know we're streaming and it's going out. Are y'all wanting to continue the conversation?
I think we've got one other thing we want to talk about, right, gentlemen?
yeah, I think maybe continue just for a little bit here. We'll go on
Okay.
for a little, and I'll close it up. Andrew, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thanks, Andrew.
All
Thank
right.
you.
I would like to jump in and just comment on a couple of things both Sean and Jason said. And yes, working in leadership can be hard. There's a lot of background stuff that has to be done. There's, also for those who don't know, Jason kind of touched on it, but we are technically organized as a corporation in the state of California. It's called a mutual benefit corporation. So there are laws that we have to follow and we have to do. It's not just a, loose social group where we just raise a little bit of money to buy scarves and do things. So we're organized that way to help protect our members, to help get bank accounts and do the things we need to do and do everything legally. So because there's also some concerns if you don't do it this way. So we have set that up, but to go a slightly different direction, maybe than what some other people have said, and tag along with what Jason said a little bit in terms of reorganizing, this also is a tremendous opportunity that even though we might have had this structure in existence with the locals as they were attached to the loyal, we also have the ability in this time frame to have those conversations to look at how we might want to restructure the leadership a little bit, especially once we decide what direction we want to go. And now that we have the experience of 4 years of doing this, we can also at the same time look at how maybe to restructure slightly, but that will also affect the elections. So this is why all of this, we have to have a time frame when we're going to have these conversations and make these decisions. And that's why we wanted to get the ball rolling right now with the survey.
Yeah.
Agree?
We lost our rudder. We lost Andrew. So now we're just a bunch of dudes
that's
hanging
right.
out. Now we're just a bunch of dudes hanging out. shooting the
Agreeing
shit,
with
so.
each other.
Yep. All right. So Andrew, what's
same.
our next? Oh, we don't know what the next topic is. Now we just I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, John, what else you got? Because that was only one piece.
Well, we wanted to talk. Well, maybe I'm not thinking. You want to help me out a little bit?
Do we want to talk
for
about
the survey specifically?
no about other stuff that we're trying to do? Do we want to talk about it now, or should we just
Yeah, we
leave
can.
it? Cool. Okay, I'll just
about the
mention it.
video?
Yeah, we want to make a final video. If y'all haven't been paying attention, I think has it been every year that we've done a video? Is it the last two?
I don't think it's been every year.
I didn't think so either.
I
But we
think
did
there
have
was
one
year
last
we
year, right?
missed in there. We had one at
We-
the end of last year.
Yeah.
It was definitely 2021.
Okay.
So maybe 21
2020.
might have been the one that there wasn't one. Maybe.
That might be it. I could see that middle of COVID. like the height of it. So we're gonna try to do another video this year. John, I think you've led these every single time, but some of the rest of us are stepping up to make sure that we can help John and assist John in getting something fun out. This is going to be a very emotional one since it's our final end of the season video. So keep an eye out for communications going forward. We're going to need your help. We're going to need your input. Realistically, we're going to need you to pick up a phone with a good camera on it and some decent headphones, or a good receiver at least, and stand in front of it for a couple of seconds to say thank you to those who you've appreciated with the loyal individual members, players, the team itself, etc. We're going to try to do a nice little tribute video. So keep your eye out for that. And when you see that communique come through from us, answer it ASAP. Because like we've talked about with everything else, turnaround time on this might have to be very, very fast. So we need you guys to help us and assist. If you get the email and you've got some time that day, literally drop what you're doing. Grab a loyal shirt, whatever you got on hand. Locals are loyal. Throw it on. Find a nice corner in your house. Find maybe a white wall background. Go outside, whatever. Just make sure you've got some clean audio if you do that. And record a little video and send it to us in a way that we tell you about later. I don't know the logistics of it. John, you got a much better idea than I do.
Yeah, we will, give something a little more specific out in terms of directions. But I would say, just to keep in mind, since I don't know that I've taken the lead on it so much, but I have usually edited the video and put it together. And since people don't normally do these kinds of things, they're not looking into a camera and speaking, don't feel you have to look dead into the camera when you do it. And what I would encourage, because it actually works out easier and better for me, is don't try to make your video perfect. Don't do 100 different takes of your video. Just think about it. Just do one take. And if you pause or mess up, just leave it in there and take a step back and just keep going. It doesn't need to be perfect because we're splicing them all up anyway. And I hope, as one of the things I put in a different message within our group, I hope everybody has seen enough stuff that I put together to know that I'm not going to take those things and make you look silly or bad in there, right? It'll be cleaned up and edited, and we'll take the best parts of different people's videos and splice them together. However, I do want to say, and I usually try to get in touch with some of those people that I may use some of those things, that occasionally someone will do a video and they'll make a mistake, or they'll sit there, or they'll do a big sigh, or they'll kind of roll their eyes. And frankly, those things are editors' dreams, because they can find their way and work in even based on someone else's comment. And when it all gets stitched together, it gives a more personal, human, rather than robotic feeling to the videos. So please leave your mistakes and everything else in there. I promise I will not make you look bad on those. But just do a recording and have fun with it. And again, we'll give you more instructions, but I want you to keep a couple of those things in mind as you do your video recording. But the biggest thing is, as clean of audio as you can get is really the most important, more so than the visuals.
Amen.
Yeah, we're not going to use your entire thing anyway. We're going to find the good pieces. If you've ever, John was telling me earlier about editing videos, like, find the pieces that are good, and the pieces where you need people, and it's not just going to be a straight video of one take of you doing it. So,
and
add some
sometimes
spice.
What someone does in a particular video helps influence the shape of the entire rest of the video. In last year's video, Drew Steck did something that was, well, it was two things. Drew Steck did something that almost like he was turning on the computer and getting it set up, and we used that as the opening. And Jason, yours was the closing, because it was still included how you reached up and were like turning off the video.
Yeah.
So it made for like a perfect bookend to open up and do the video and get it started. And that wasn't the intention of the video originally, but based on what I got from people and certain other pieces, it helped shape what the story eventually was going to be. And that's why I really encourage people, just don't worry about editing or changing, or even if you set up a camera on a tripod and you click start and you walk back and get ready to start speaking, just leave all that in there in what you send, because we never know what parts are going to help influence other parts and help us tell a better story once we get all the video clips in.
Amen.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, we do want everybody to start. I mean, everyone has started talking. I unfortunately didn't make it to the last watch party, but I've heard from multiple people that the future was kind of all anyone could really talk about. And, you know, I think, and I said in a little thing that we put out, like in a perfect world, we were really hoping to give all of our attention 100%. You know, I've said certain things in our leadership Slack that you guys can hold me to about how much I don't want to talk about the future until after the season, because we've still got a TIFO to trace and paint. We're going to need people out for that. Like we have stuff, we have, you know, these watch parties that are our last chances to get together and have this be what it is right now. And unfortunately, you know, it can't just be, all right, we'll talk about this in November. So I want people to know that I was the person kind of at the forefront of, we'll talk about this in November, and it just didn't work out. So for those who are thinking that it's inappropriate for us to be doing this, like I said in our little blurb on Discord, at the end of the day, we are kind of the stewards of the locals, and we have to be about the locals' business as much as we want to just love, loyal, and enjoy this. You know, we kind of have a fiduciary responsibility to you all to make sure that no one's caught with their pants down in November, or reaching across the island of Beetlejuice show. So that hopefully won't happen with any of us, and we'll be ready for it and act appropriately. But it sucks because I mean, maybe it's a nice distraction from what's been going on the field, because man, I forget, at some point during the game I just looked at who I was sitting with. I just said, don't think I'm gonna miss trying to support lower division American soccer. Like, I love these guys, I love all of you, but sometimes the ball has to go into the net. You know, like if I'm giving up my whole Saturday and my time to be doing this, I just would love that. Sorry.
I was in,
again, love you all.
I was in Mexico during the game. I wasn't able to make it back over before the game started, so I couldn't make the watch party. And I asked in the Discord, you know, hey, what am I missing? I'm in Mexico. And I think it was Nick Duffy almost immediately responded with, don't come back. It's not worth it. So, yeah, it was a tough game for sure. I watched a replay. Not fun.
So, but also that isn't the reason we're just giving up on it. It's not like, yeah, they played shitty, so let's look at the future. That's not it either.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But I want to put the flip of the... Oh, John, go for it. You want to talk.
I was going to say, I think that's part of the reason is we all know that it's winding down, and not as a reason to just stop supporting, but we know every bad result is getting us closer to the actual end. And I think that is the real hard part, because at least I do. I want to see this team out all the way to the end. I would love to make that run all the way to the championship game, because it's our last opportunity. We don't have another season to say, all right, what changes can we do in the off season, and start looking at things like this is it. So when we have those times where we're not securing the points, I think it hurts more than it would at the normal end of the season, where you might just get frustrated and say, oh, well, it's kind of like the other two seasons. Like this one there is no other season. Like this, for me, this is why it hurts so much more, some of these results, that you really desperately want to see a storybook ending, right? The glorious run at the end, and whether they play at home or not, but make, an Orange County type run through the playoffs.
We got Ronaldo.
Ready
it could work.
The second MVP. Yeah, but yeah, you want to see, and that's what I'm looking at. I'm thinking of home games. I'd much rather have home games. And I'm looking at if we could get to the 3 seed, and there's an upset, that gives us a second home game, and then maybe there's another upset, right? Because we've
Right.
seen that where Roots had 2 upsets in a row, I think. And then there's another upset, and then we have the Western Conference Championship at home, and then depending on how the West goes or the East goes, maybe we get
Right.
the whole thing at home, and to see like the points drop and third place get okay, well now maybe it's fourth or fifth. Well now maybe we're going to Phoenix for the first game, and it's just like, man, I mean, we could do a Phoenix trip and that's fine. Like
I think we'd have to,
that'll be
right?
fun. We definitely will if
Yeah.
that's what it comes to. We'll do an Orange County trip if that's what it comes to. So it is kind of nice if your road game is going to be in Phoenix and or Orange County. That's kind of nice. I just don't want it to ever be San Antonio because nobody will go.
Right.
But that's what this is. Those are 6 points that we don't have, and now we got a midweek Wednesday game coming back from 2,000 miles away to play
Yeah.
2 days later. Is like, man, are we getting 3 points out of this one? This is our game in hand that we're eating up right now, right? This is the mushroom that we're eating. This is the game in hand. So if you don't get 3 points here, then you are on a 3 game losing streak, or non like, and
Yeah.
and maybe that's who this team is, and that's hard to accept too. Is that happens a lot in soccer? You lose all your road games, you win your home games, you get lucky in some of your big games, and you're a mid-table team, and that's who they are. But man, I wanted the Disney movie, and it's still there. There's still a chance,
It's still
obviously,
there.
It ain't over.
because they're like, this is the end of the season. This is our last season. We're like, damn, this is the end. And then you're looking like, oh wait, there's 10 games left. It's like, okay, so like it's the end, but also like there's still a third of the season. Um, so yeah, weird. That was weird. And now we've eaten up a couple games here that haven't been great, and yeah, that it feels like it's going to be closer to the end coming October 22nd instead of November 20th. Um, but pray for that miracle.
I just
Amen.
want to throw out to you guys, since it feels like we're getting closer to the end here of what we're doing. Are you interested in maybe offering up to answer some questions from anybody in the chat? We have
Oh
quite a
yeah,
few
absolutely.
people online right now that if we'll throw that out there right now. If you have any questions that you would like us to answer, I'll just pop this question or this comment up for right now. But
Yeah,
in general, thank you. I wanted to post
read
that up
one.
in case you guys didn't see that in the chat at all.
Yeah, and thank you. And I sometimes we can forget as leadership what people don't know. Knowing we didn't know this would be the last season. A few of us here or there, and some of us kind of put it together with puzzle pieces that we each had. Maybe like that at that last home game before it was announced. So we kind of had 3 or 4 days, and then we met with Andrew the night before. We had heard whispers of this from other places. Um, I don't know what the fuck. I'm in the lounge. What are they going to do? Sue me? Basically, the way that it was working was when Loyal knew who they wanted to bring back for the next year, they can start signing those contracts in June, and they didn't re-sign any of the players. So the players had seen 4 years of Loyal had basically brought back their whole core every year, which isn't something that all USL teams did. So basically, those people who got announced, in December or whatever, they had signed those contracts in June. Basically, they didn't sign anybody. I know you had heard Two Balls say like distressing news whenever that was a month or so before. So those of us, kind of sniffing around and kind of thinking, kind of feeling, okay, that's not a great sign at all. And then a little bit here, a little bit there, find out about this, find out about that. And so we kind of had an inkling, and amongst ourselves, I think had kind of, I don't know if we had all dealt with this, but kind of knew a little bit more than maybe others who this caught by surprise. But I did want to talk about also what Andrew said, because again, not knowing everything behind the curtain, like you were talking about, Eliseo, Elisa, um, we see him come out and say, "We're not going anywhere" in May, right? And then you all don't see. I don't want to say you all, right? But like the people who do not have the access that we do for the reasons that we do of setting up and all that stuff, you don't see him again until he comes out and says it's over. So like I understand where you're coming from there of like, wait a minute, 3 months ago you said we're not going anywhere, and now you say, oh, it's over, fuck you. Like I can definitely see how you feel about that, not having those like weekly, monthly updates that maybe we get and aren't really allowed to share with people. But we did officially find out, I will tell you, we didn't know for a long time other than what we pieced together and knew. He told us we had a meeting with him the night before. I think that may have been mentioned, but the night before, just to let us know officially and everything that was going to be going down. So it's not, we didn't know for weeks on, he didn't tell us a long time ago, and we weren't trying to, we weren't trying to, I don't know, carry his water or anything like that. Basically, just people kind of figured stuff out. But officially, we only knew, 12 hours before everyone else. And, but we're told, and I'm sure if you could get in his ear, or if you can come out, I think he's going to have one last kind of listening session to explain things. And whether you believe him or not is your business. I do. And we had known that they were trying to find that Chula. They've said up and down the coast. We knew up and down the coast, but we knew when he said we're not going anywhere, that there were very real possibilities at that point. So we believed them, and we were very hopeful, optimistic on those sites. And sadly, in those 2 months, it all fell apart. And once it did, again, we kind of heard that fell apart a little bit before the official end announcement. And that was something that we kind of saw as writing on the wall. And to his credit, Andrew did not. And I believe him when he says, and Ricardo has told me and other people have, that other people had to sit him down and say, dude, this is the end. That he was the last person to accept that. And if you know Andrew at all, and if you had seen him, especially if you'd seen him that night, you'll probably get, again, a chance to see him at Jenny Craig, and we'll see if he keeps it together there. You saw his raw video, as John was talking about, do it in one take and leave in the sighs and the cries and the teary eyes. That was very difficult for him to watch him tell us that he had to deal with, that this was all over. So I did want to address that as that comment kind of brought up that we know a little bit more behind the scenes. So I just wanted to put that out there a little bit, of people who were upset with him. Again, I totally get it. You have that right. But I believe that in May, he was not trying to mislead you and steal your money by saying we're not going anywhere. He really thought, optimistic hope, whatever you want to call it, that there was still a chance there. It just really went downhill fast.
And they really tried to go through every avenue. There was an entire document signed between Snapdragon and the Loyal that just needed signatures, and they had dates planned for this. And then certain things happened in April, and the ownership of Snap and the decision making there ripped up the contract.
Yeah.
So, like, they've tried everything, literally every avenue. You all might have been paying attention to what happened in Midway. They tried to be part of a a project there to build a modular stadium. That didn't work. They tried to do stuff in Chula Vista. That didn't work. They tried to do stuff in Balboa. That was very exploratory. SeaWorld, like
that was the other funny thing, seeing things come up in Discord with the Hopium in Discord, and people be like, maybe this could work. And I'm just sitting there like, they tried that.
They've tried everything.
It's not going to happen. We already know that's a no. But like, yeah, you're right. Everywhere that you brought up, people in Discord that you thought, hey, maybe this could work, they tried it, and we all had to kind of sit there quietly and be like, yeah, maybe.
That's certainly a possibility.
You know, and sometimes it was still on the table, sometimes it wasn't. I think at the same time, you brought that someone brought up SeaWorld and that Chula Vista site. And one of them was on the table and didn't work out.
Yeah.
None of them worked out.
I worked on Soccer City, and let me tell you, getting anything built in this city is fucking impossible. You may have the willpower, you may even have the money, and that still can't be enough sometimes. You will just get blocked at so many opportunities. And it's oftentimes just not what people want to do. So... And it's tough. It's tough to convince people when you're not filling out a 6,000-seat stadium, no matter how many issues that stadium itself has and, external factors. And then you've got competition in terms of audience coming in town, blah, blah, blah. Things got really, really difficult, and they really tried to do everything. And I think if they could have been burning just a couple million after this year to stay alive, Andrew may have been gung-ho about it. But they would have lost so much money. Much more than Andrew already has,
and people, right? Because you're dead man walking there, and you look at what's gone on here. I know it wasn't official at the time, but once the writing was kind of on the wall, and Andrew told his people to do what they need to do for themselves. I mean, so you're looking at, we don't get the season next year, right? But you're looking at Ricardo would probably still be gone. Right, people will be looking for future things. Stephanie just announced that she's gone. Wave is snapping up people. I don't know how official that is.
At least one of them's
at
official.
Least one who gave us all tickets to the Wave game as an employee of the Wave the other day.
Yeah.
And then again, Nick Miranda out early. These are people that. Is it right for him to make them stay around for a year, miss out on MLS, miss out on, what might possibly be coming with Wave? There's just so much to it. And yeah, we'd love for him to throw us a $6 million party next year. But after the last two games, I don't know. We want another year of that. I mean, and maybe the players are gone too, right? Like they want security. If they could find somewhere else or these people that we love, we're forcing them to come back to a team that has no, I don't know. I understand where he's coming from. I don't want to say it's a side, but I'm on his side. Like, do we really want a dead man walking year, a lame duck year where the casuals aren't coming out? It's hard to. It's easier to justify. I'm not going to go to the game. So,
yeah. Additionally, he mentioned it, I think, in the video, but he's talked about it after that, he being Andrew, is that he doesn't want to dilute the brand. He's not interested in making it, a worse product than he was able to provide and the Loyal as a whole were able to provide here in USL. So don't anticipate that happening in the future. Maybe something else, like non-soccer team, that could potentially be in the cards, like a brand or something. Unfortunately, the logistics of all that and the legalities of it get really complicated. Just to part the kimono slightly, apparently the actual owner of the San Diego Loyal, the brand, is the USL. It is not just Andrew. So he can't just take the brand. He can't run with it. This is also a reason why talks potentially broke down between the MLS team and the Loyal, is because there is a third party who has a very... contentious relationship with other members there, and they were going to need to be involved in those talks. So, things get really complicated very quickly. And maybe we'll see something Loyal-like come out that Andrew's kind of working on, but it's not going to be a soccer team. It's not going to
For
be.
now, just get the SD tattoo.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, if you want to do
And,
that, I'm going to get that tattoo. I'm planning on it. I'm going to get it on the back of my right ankle. So every time I score a goal, and we're no longer at the water tower, I can point to it. Yeah, right there. So that's my game plan. If you want to join me with that, let me know.
I think Charlie was heading something
There
up.
is a group
a
getting together
discount,
to
right?
do that, right?
There is a group. Yeah,
I
join the
think Charlie was
Discord.
looking at it. Yeah, it's in the Discord. And all this is going to be on there too. So with whatever happens here moving forward, the Discord's not going anywhere. So that's going to be, the source. It always has been. I understand that people don't want to get into infrastructure insanity and people talking minutia of whatever else. But it is a good place for news and announcements, to keep you most up to date in case, your director of communications and marketing really sucks at sending out emails all the time to let everyone know and just tells the people in Discord stuff. That could happen. Speaking of, the ticket link is in the Discord, and I didn't email that out. So get in the Discord and buy your Vegas tickets because that's where that stuff is.
Do
and-
it. But yeah,
yeah.
I want to point out, I've been on a couple of our road trips. This is it. This is one of the nice things about knowing when things will end. You no longer can go, oh, I can go next time, or oh, maybe I'll be able to make it next year. Go now. That's why I'm
going to Vegas. That's
Yeah.
why I got the permission from Vegas. I was like, this is it. I always wanted to do Vegas. It didn't work out. I didn't push it. This is it. I have to
Gotta
do
go.
one Vegas. I got to do
Go.
one Vegas.
Go. And how many away games do we have? We've got Vegas. Do we have Oakland? Is that a home game or an away game?
No, the Oakland we already lost there.
That's right.
It's
So
El
it's a home
Paso.
game. Mhm. El Paso's the other one. Oh, okay. Yeah. Go to the Vegas one.
Definitely go to the Vegas one. Definitely go to the Vegas one. Yeah, we have the home and home with lights, home and home with Mission Bay. But if you're not already driving up there right now, you're not going to get there in time for the game. Yeah. Did I say Mission Bay? Monterey Bay.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
I knew what you meant. I was just going to let it slide. Don't worry.
MBUFC. It's the Cerro Jerry.
That's wait, Trey Muse is there? No, it's not. It's Siaha,
No,
right?
Siaha, yeah.
Yeah.
Siaha.
Yeah. And our good friend, super fan Dan,
That's true.
the man is up there. So
It's gonna be
also
sad.
they will be doing something to honor us this tomorrow and when they come down. If you hadn't heard, so keep an eye out for that. Like people are, and I do think there's a little bit of, I don't know, when I see people wishing to honor us. I do kind of want to say like we're not dying, but I think I guess that is on the table. That would be our choice.
We're all slowly dying.
We are all slowly dying, but I think that Papi Chavo said it on Instagram or the on X a couple weeks ago of just like whatever is in the future might be better, might be worse, but it's not going to be this. So like for those of us who are here and love what this is our last chance, and this is ending. Whatever happens, if we, whatever goes on, and if we go to MLS and become a 3,000 person SG, this is ending. Right? If we go to Wave, that is a different thing. If we go do whatever, if we just become, obviously, if we don't support soccer, that is a different thing. So this is ending, and the USL is ending. The run that we had, the friends that we made, that kind of stuff that we were a part of, it is ending, and we want to be positive about our future, but our future as far as being involved with MBUFC is over, and so we're thankful for them looking to honor us, and those people who say we got the short end of the stick. We saw the Money Grabbers FC stuff. There's I think I can hold 2 glasses of water while I walk, and whatever happens in the future doesn't mean that this wasn't taken from us. No matter if we stay bitter about it, or if we accept it, or if we, fully Lauren Boebert it next to us, like whatever is coming in the future is this was killed.
Yeah, to, I guess, bring it back full circle here, to tag on to what you said and what Adrian said. Locals version 1.0 is ending. Locals version 2.0, we don't know what that's going to look like. Could be better, could be worse, but it's going to be different, whatever that is. It will not be the same because we grew up and were born in partnership with the San Diego Loyal, right? The symbiotic relationship that we had growing together and feeding off of each other won't be there. But this is why, and my comment about bringing it full circle is why these surveys are so important, right? We want to get people's feedback. We want to really get to the nitty gritty of what it means to be a local. What are the things that are truly most important to us? And how can we carry as many of those things forward as possible in Locals version 2.0, whatever that happens to be. So again, to bring it back, the survey should be coming out tomorrow, right, Jason?
Sure.
Or the availability of the survey?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
I have some work to do on that tonight, but yeah, it should be up tonight. Ready to go in the morning.
So once it's officially posted, we'd again like to encourage everyone to respond. There's only about, I think, 9 questions in there, if I remember correctly. They're all open-ended. Please be as detailed as possible. Yes, people are going to have to read them, but we'd rather have more detail and specific points that people list in there than to have a generic vague statement. So that's why we left it open-ended, because we do want to use these responses to help shape what the next survey is going to look like. So maybe the flip side of that also is if you don't give input in this survey, then maybe some comments and things you would like to see may not end up in our next survey. So please contribute to this survey once it comes out. We'll have it up for at least a week. We'll probably spend a lounge show, I'm guessing, at some point forward, kind of talking about some of the results and what we see, and kind of help get us positioned for that next survey whenever we solidify the time frame of when that one is going to come out.
Yeah, and I do think we'll see more lounge shows because we do want to kind of keep separate our loyal support and our need to talk about things. So tune in for the Loyal Locals podcast to find out what's happening in Locals Loyal land, and then afterwards we'll have a little bit more discussion here. And at Elsmith, and at the watch parties that are coming up. So,
and we would also love to get some more voices even on some of these lounge episodes. So if you've always thought about maybe contributing, so it's not just leadership talking out to the masses, the survey is one place to give your thoughts and opinions, but if you feel strongly about some things, we'd love to get some other voices on the lounge as well. So if you are interested, reach out to someone on leadership and we will do what we can to get you on a future episode as we start having some of these discussions.
Yeah, this one's definitely more leadershipy and letting you guys know and kind of letting a little bit more of what we know and what technically needs to be done. But in the future, I do want to hear, Sean's opinion of what he thinks we should do, and John's and all of yours. If you want to come on here and talk about it again, especially if you really feel strongly about it, that's what this area is for. So tonight we kind of did a little bit of technical stuff, and I don't know that we're leaving really thinking what John and Sean and maybe myself think we should do. But look for more of that in the future, and getting back to the lounge area of having some drinks, talking it out,
Yeah.
But
all right.
I don't want to keep you anybody any longer.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe it's a good place to wrap it up. Sean, do you have any last comments?
Yeah, go get the Loyal Ale. It's pretty good. That's what I've been drinking tonight. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
There you go. We'll see you there. You get it there. Get it. Elspeth's the only place you can get it.
Yeah.
So
I actually will not be there tomorrow, but I'll be there in spirit.
All right. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you for
Jason,
you.
any last comments?
Nope.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank everyone who joined us live tonight. And as Jason said, we'll look at having some more lounge episodes where we can have some more conversations in the future, especially as we get closer to the off season. But thanks again for everyone joining us. Hope to see as many people as possible at the watch party on Wednesday against Monterey Bay, and everyone at our next home match on Sunday at 3 o'clock against Las Vegas. Until then, we'll see you next time.
See you, everyone.